And black folks don't embrace what folks are trying to do and fend that off, that upsets me, because I am somebody that's trying to set a path for future folks on the come up for my community to be in this position one day.
He's now facing a lawsuit in Miami from his ex, accusing him of battery, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and emotional distress. I mean, this does not look good, and he's had previous with his partner. Hands on women, I just can't agree with. It's just terrible, and it's so bad for boxing when a fighter is being accused of putting. I mean, that's my personal opinion on.
Yeah. As reported, Jake Paul's return could shift to December, with the November 14th Netflix exhibition in jeopardy due to the latest allegations against Gervonta Davis. Sources tell Ring Magazine that December 12th and the 19th are possibilities, right? And here are the potential opponents: Nate Diaz or Francis Ngannou.
Stephen A. Smith harshly criticized Gervonta Davis, saying he ruined his own career through careless choices outside the ring. Smith said skill means nothing without control, respect, and focus. Because of this drama, Jake Paul might now fight someone else. Organizers are searching for a boxer closer to Jake's weight, fighting style, and popularity.
Jake Paul.
I hate it. And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer. But then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from the sport.
Inside Ring Show posted on X that Gervonta Davis will likely be removed from his November 14th Netflix fight with Jake Paul. The event could move to December while they look for a new opponent. Sources told The Ring's Mike Coher that December 12th or 19th are possible new dates. Names like Andre Ward, Nate Diaz, and Francis Ngannou are being discussed. The update caused a wave of talk about Jake's next rival. A Wade podcast analyst said Jake's team worries about money and image. They believe the lawsuit against Davis could hurt pay-per-view numbers because fans won't support a fighter in trouble. The analyst added that Jake's team cares about protecting both reputation and profit. The Netflix event was meant to go viral, but Davis's legal mess has changed everything. While boxing drama often
takes these fights very, very seriously, and I just thought, okay, this is gonna get a little more interesting than I previously thought. I thought it would be a bit of a mismatch, a bit of a, boxing experience to Gervonta Davis, Jake bringing the size and power, and we're gonna get one of these stalemates where no one wants to take a real risk, and both guys are gonna get paid. Turns out no guy may get paid, or Gervonta Davis might be kicked off the card because we have a new, not champion, a new domestic violence abuse allegation against Gervonta Davis. There's been a lot of allegations against Tank, and some of those have been dropped, and others have not really been pursued, and you don't really know what's what behind the scenes with people, but when things like this happen over and over, I think this is his 4th or maybe 5th allegation of domestic abuse, you kind of start to have to look at the person that's being accused of such and go, why do you keep ending up in these situations? And the way it's described, we've even seen Tank do some of the things already on camera. But let's get into this thing, and then we'll just go right into the report from Chris Mannix here. Shout out Mannix. Obviously, you guys know him as a commentator with DAZN, covers boxing, covers basketball as well for SI. Chris Mannix on Twitter says, Netflix and reps for Jake Paul have been exploring potential replacements for Gervonta Davis. Sources familiar with the situation told SI Now. Paul Davis, scheduled for November 14th, is in limbo after new allegations of domestic violence against Gervonta Davis. I was in the car. I didn't know if this was real, but I had seen a report, and this came out, I think on October, it came out a couple days ago, but it was from October 27th, and there was a civil suit over domestic allegations just 2 weeks ahead of this fight. This is from Andreas Hale, our guy over at ESPN.com. He essentially wrote the article on it and went into details. So let's take a read. Gervonta "Tank" Davis has once again found himself in legal trouble just 2 weeks before his exhibition fight. And yes, it was going to be an exhibition. I know it was billed as a exhibition with, a winner and loser, but let's be honest about it. Two guys, massively different weights, massively different experience. It was going to be an exhibition. On November 14th, a new civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade County has put the WBA lightweight champion in hot water over another.
Ring Magazine's senior insider Mike Coher posted on X that Jake Paul's next fight could move to December because of new claims against Gervonta Davis. He said December 12th and 19th are being considered and that fighters like Ryan Garcia and Terrence Crawford were contacted. His post added support to reports about changing plans. Carl Froch also spoke up, calling the Davis fight a circus focused on fame, not sport. Froch said Jake never needed that fight and should now look for a serious boxer. He warned that boxing often values entertainment over skill, and this situation shows how that approach can fail.
Proven guilty, they say, right? Regardless of how many times he's been accused of this type of stuff, allegedly or not, it's still innocent until proven guilty. Now, if I have a contract with you, this doesn't involve you. I understand you got a brand and public relations, all this type of stuff, but technically, this doesn't involve you. So you pulled my $200 Jake Paul contract. What if I'm innocent over here? You know who I'm coming after? I'm coming after you. I want my fucking money, or I want some compensation. But these big companies, they be having stipulations and little clauses in their contracts that give them the ability to cancel contracts for all different types of. I used to have those in NRB.
Oscar De La Hoya responded to rumors about Ryan Garcia replacing Gervonta Davis. He said no such talks ever happened and that he would personally announce any real deal. De La Hoya explained Garcia is chasing other goals, not a Jake Paul fight. His statement ended the rumors and reminded fans not to believe every online story. Despite curiosity, De La Hoya made it clear there's no contact between Garcia's and Jake Paul's teams right now.
So I wake up to calls from reporters asking me about Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. Let me just tell you why this fight is not going to happen. Ryan Garcia fights for DAZN, and Jake Paul fights on Netflix. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. Golden Boy has a contract with DAZN. Ryan Garcia has a contract with Golden Boy. And that's just the way it is. I mean, this is business. Ryan Garcia's probably going to go on a rant saying, oh, you're keeping me from making money and this and that and fighting. No, you have to go by the law, by the rules. You have a contract with DAZN. You have a contract with Golden Boy. It just doesn't happen that way. So anyway, until next time, we'll see you Saturday. We're Virgil Ortiz. But again,
Commentators reminded fans that this isn't Gervonta Davis's first controversy. Earlier this year, he faced accusations from his child's mother that were dropped but still hurt his image. Now, another ex-girlfriend has filed a lawsuit, and many say Davis needs to take responsibility. Experts warn that fame means nothing if a fighter can't control his behavior outside the ring. These repeated problems make people doubt his focus and could ruin his reputation.
Never happened, the Paul camps still thought Tank is a big enough name regardless of his previous result to go ahead with this bout. But just as they were going to announce this fight initially, DV allegations dropped. Tank was arrested and it was once again put in doubt. Then the charges were dropped. A week later, they announced the event. So that kind of brings us to today. This event hasn't been smooth sailing so far, and it was almost destined that there would end up being a few more bumps in the road before we actually saw the two facing off. And about as big of a bump as you could really get has now hit the promotion. A civil suit has been filed against Tank, in which his ex-girlfriend accuses him of aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. While it was also reported by ESPN that a report has been filed additionally with the Miami Gardens Police Department last Tuesday. However, as I'm recording this, there's yet to be any criminal charges. Now, these alleged incidents happened last month, which was after the announcement of the fight. You would think if you're Tank on the verge of the biggest payday he's ever gotten, he would be doing anything to stay out of trouble, yet he continues to find himself in negative situations again and again. But in saying all of this, everything at the moment is very much alleged, and I'm not really here to talk about the validity of these claims. What I am here to talk about, though, is the impact this might have on the boxing event in a couple weeks' time. Now, Tank vs. Paul, love or hate the idea of it, was destined one of the most viewed fights of the year. Although there are rumors of there being poor ticket sales, the at-home audience...
Courtney Rosel's lawsuit against Gervonta Davis, filed in Miami-Dade County, describes a serious situation. It says he attacked her at her workplace and accuses him of battery, false imprisonment, and emotional harm. The timing, just weeks before the Jake Paul fight, has raised questions across boxing. Some believe the case was planned to ruin his biggest moment, while others say victims often delay speaking up out of fear. Commentators compared this to cases like Mike Tyson's, where aggression in the ring carried over to real life. Whatever the truth,
involve the offer. If you're going to involve the laws, given a lawsuit, why not involve the law in general and file like actual charges in addition to this? So again, I'm not her. I don't understand that angle of it, because it's like we want him to be held accountable in front of the public, but there's no criminal charges, which is weird, you know, in a situation like that. At least to me, it seems like you would have criminal charges or some kind of restraining order. Now, I don't know. It's not my case to fight or defend. We have to see what comes. I have mixed feelings about these situations because on one angle, we do see boxers throughout history who have been involved with like temper issues or anger management issues and DV in domestic situations. We've seen that. And I'm talking about all types of fighters, right? Even the great Mike Tyson, I don't believe the story, but again, I don't want to get too distracted on my opinion, but he did prison time for allegedly to a female, right? So on one angle, we've heard that. But then on the other angle, you got people who sue left and right, and sometimes even females, right? Where people are looking to turn a pretty penny. And what happens is sometimes in these celebrity situations, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I got to see more. You know, it has to go to trial or whatever, see what evidence comes out. Again, this is not really for me to judge.
Michael Bisping rejected the idea of Jake Paul fighting Francis Ngannou instead of Davis. The former UFC champion said it would be unfair since Ngannou's size and strength give him too much advantage. He said Jake has improved, but he's not ready for that level. Bisping suggested Nate Diaz as a better, more balanced option. Diaz is popular, experienced, and makes the match more exciting. Many fans agree, saying they want Jake's fights to be entertaining.
Pulled the plug on that fight. It says, here's a tweet I'm reading from Mike Coppinger. As reported, Jake Paul's return could shift to December with the November 14th Netflix exhibition in jeopardy due to the latest allegations against Gervonta Davis. Sources tell Ring Magazine that December 12th and the 19th are possibilities, right? And here are the potential opponents: Nate Diaz or Francis Ngannou. Now listen, we know that Jake Paul has been out there and he's typically taking on people that are way older than him, like Mike Tyson, who's 58, Anderson Silva, who was way past his prime, people like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller. Gervonta...
A group of boxing analysts debated whether the lawsuit against Gervonta Davis is real or a setup. They said strong evidence is needed before anyone can decide. The timing, right before his biggest payday, has made people question it. Some experts said fans shouldn't jump to conclusions without proof. They admitted that false claims happen, but dismissing them too soon is also wrong. The panel agreed both sides deserve fairness, but no matter...
Or she got trash-ass lawyers, and he did all of this shit, and they got all the evidence in the world. They're like, yeah, we just gonna ask him $50K. We ain't gonna ask for nothing more than that. Something gotta give, bro. Okay? Something gotta give, fam. So, there's that part of it. And for the Tank Davis side, listen, dog. Whether you did it or not, if that's all it takes to make this go away, so you can go on with your life and go on with your career, I'd consider doing it from a business perspective, right? And just saying, look, man, you asked for how much, man? Here go 100. Shut up. Issue an apology. You know what I'm saying? Say that I never did that shit. Say it was a misunderstanding. And you can have 100K here. Shit. That's the business side to make this shit go away and keep it moving. But the man in me, right? The pride is the wrong word. The integrity in me says, if you didn't do this shit, fight tooth and nail, and don't give a shit, right? So there's that, right? It just, again, not saying guilty or innocent. Y'all know when shit like this happen, I like to wait on all the facts to come out. But damn, this shit seeming very, very suspect, bro. Very weird. But now let's get to the potential opponent. So nothing from MVP has came out to say this fight has been canceled. As a matter of fact, they were still promoting the shit yesterday on their socials or whatever. Nothing from Tank's side that said this shit is canceled. Nothing from Netflix saying this is canceled. So for all intents and purposes, these are rumors started by Chris Mannix. So
Jake Paul's team has started an internal review about the accusations against Gervonta Davis. This shows they're serious about protecting their name and legal standing. Jake's representatives are working with lawyers and promoters to plan their next step. They might delay, move, or cancel the fight, depending on what they find. Their response shows Jake's growth from entertainer to professional promoter, who understands reputation matters. With Netflix involved and millions on the line, his team wants to keep both the event's image and his credibility safe.
And from the even contractual side, you got to look at it from Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, it's innocent until proven guilty, they say, right? Regardless of how many times he's been accused of this type of stuff, allegedly or not, it's still innocent until proven guilty. Now, if I have a contract with you, this doesn't involve you. You know, I understand you got a brand and public relations, all this type of stuff, but technically, this doesn't involve you. So you pulled my $200 Jake Paul contract. What if I'm innocent over here? You know who I'm coming after? I'm coming after you. I want my fucking money, or I want some compensation. But these big companies, they be having stipulations and little clauses in their contract.